Welcome back, everyone, to Hymn of the Day. If you've been with us before, this is a time where we go through the one-year lectionary Hymn of the Day, talk about its background, who wrote the text, who wrote the music, if those are different, go through some of the theology of it, talk about the hymn's usage in our church body, the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod over time. And to do that, we have our cantor, Jonathan Sweat, with us, and I'm Pastor Rod Zwanitzer. So without any further ado, we are at Easter 5, and we use Lutheran Service Book, and the hymn of the day for Easter 5 is none other than Martin Luther, hymn 556 in the Lutheran Service Book, Dear Christians, one and all rejoice. Martin Luther, back with us again. I think we were talking, this is since we started back in Lent, I think it was. We started with Mighty Fortress, and then we did another one before. So this is maybe our third or fourth in a short time. So what about Luther and this hymn?
I'd say the most significant thing about this one is that this is the first hymn that Martin Luther wrote for congregational use. And of course that was a huge motivating factor for much of the hymn writing that he did. And so this is kind of where it all started in terms of singing these chorales, singing them in the vernacular language that people would understand. And it first appeared in a source that we're familiar with. It's the Ethnochristic Later, which was 1523, 1524, and its kind of nickname is the Octoliter book, which is literally translates to 8-song book, because there's 8 hymn texts in it, and I think 4 of those were by Luther, and if I remember right, 3 of them by Paul Spiritus, who we talked about when we went through Salvation Unto Us Has Come, hymn 555. And then I think there was one other text that was anonymous.
Okay.
So this was an important collection, and that's the original source for this hymn.
And we might point out that what's interesting in that, because I can remember our talking about that 8-hymn collection, that it was early in the Reformation, and so the solid Lutheran hymns, and this one is in the category that in our hymn book here under justification. It's not an Easter particular hymn, but justification, which to us Lutherans, of course, is up front and central. And so we get a lot of mileage, get a lot of usage on almost any Sunday of the church here, right?
You can't go wrong picking a justification.
No. And here, Luther, we might say, kind of goes through and rehearses a lot of the gospel, a lot of the justification, beginning with rejoicing in the wonders God has done in stanza 1, and before he goes into some more specific things. So why don't we do that? Well, let's sing stanza 1, and then we can chat about that.
Dear Christians, one and all rejoice, with exaltation springing, and with united heart and voice, and holy rapture singing, proclaim the wonders God has done, how his bright arm the victory won. What price our ransom cost him?
Anything about the tune that we want to highlight?
We believe this is one that was probably an original of Luther's. And I think, let me find my note here. It's based on a 15th century folk song. If anybody cares, it's called Sie gleicht wohl einem Rosenstock. I don't know a whole lot about it, but Luther, if he did write this, I'm guessing he reworked maybe this folk song a little bit and made it to fit his text better.
Okay.
I'm just speculating based on, that is something that would have taken place during that time.
Has this been in all of our hymnals in the Missouri Synod cantor? Do you know?
I haven't looked, but I'm going to say I'm pretty sure it is.
I would think it
I'm
would be.
almost certain it
Okay.
would be in all of them.
Okay. All right, so what do you find here in the first stanza that you'd like to share?
Well, it's really a good summary of the doctrine of justification, which of course is the source of our Christian joy.
He's talking about uniting in heart and voice, singing about this justification, proclaim the wonders God has done, how his right arm the victory won. That right arm, Luther was an expert on, and it did not mean a physical right arm. It meant authority and great power. So he, with his authority, with his power, he's won the victory for us, and thereby we're justified. And then he uses one of the descriptors of that justification, ransom, which is a term we know from movies and that of buying someone out of their captivity, which was a favorite image of Luther too, because it's one of the scripture as well. Anything before we go on to another verse?
And I think that ransom idea, it kind of maybe personalizes it a little bit too, thinking in terms of how we are the ones being ransomed. And that's just a great last statement. What price our ransom cost him?
Mm-hmm.
There is no higher price.
No, and that's really in my mind tied to grace, because it cost Christ a lot. And that's that image of that he who had all the riches of all times became poor so that we might be rich. That great exchange, that ransom, at great price that he paid. Excellent. Thanks for that. So let's next do verse 4, if we may, and then we'll chat about that.
God has seen my wretched state before the world's foundation, and mindful of his mercies great, he planned for my salvation. He turned to me out Father's heart. He did not choose the easy part, but gave his dearest treasure.
Wow, that's a powerful verse there. And again, going along with your comments about for each of us personally, he kind of has that my wretched state. God had seen my wretched state before the world's foundation, and mindful of his mercies great, he planned for my salvation. Real person.
And I appreciate how he starts off by using the pronoun my, but then he immediately turns it to his and referring to the work that has been done for us.
Yeah, yeah. He planned for my salvation. He turned to me a father's heart. He did not choose the easy part as the father, but gave his dearest treasure. I mean, that's all the way back to Abraham and Isaac, right? And you know, I'm wondering, he probably remembered there that I think it was when the Augsburg Confession was going on and Luther couldn't go there because of the fear of the Roman Catholics capturing and killing him. So he and his family were close to Augsburg, and they were having a picnic, and it said that the devotion that day was on Abraham and Isaac, and Katie protested and said, "Martin, how can you do that in front of the children? And how could Abraham even think about sacrificing his own son?" And he supposedly said to her, "But Katie, God our Father did that with his beloved son." And so here it is in at least stanza 4. Okay, anything before we go on to verse 5? Well, let's do 5 then, please.
God said to his beloved son, "It's time to have compassion. Then go, bright jewel of my crown, and bring to all salvation. From sin and sorrow set them free, slay bitter death for them that may live with you forever."
That's a powerful verse there too. What do you want to highlight in that?
That line, "It's time to have compassion," is not something you hear said that way, I think, very often. So that kind of stands out. I guess that's that, God knows, and we know what condition we are in by nature of our sin. And I guess it kind of boils down to compassion, mercy. You could probably substitute that word in there too.
So, it certainly has the flavor of knowing our terrible state, which he kind of gets at in verses 2 and 3, bound in Satan's chains, which reminds us of the slavery of the people of God in Egypt, and God finally hearing their prayers for deliverance and having compassion. So same kind of thing. And there's also that flavor brought to mind of, when the time was just right, God sent forth his son born under the law to redeem those of us under the law, which fits with the ransom quite well. Bring to all salvation, not to just the ones who will accept it, but for everyone. So there's universal grace in there. And from sin and sorrow, set them free. How? By slaying bitter death for them, that they may live with you forever. Wow. Slaying bitter death. Wonderful word choices there. Okay. And our last selected stanza out of 10. Stanza 8.
I suffer for your good. Be steadfast and believe.
Luther is such a excellent student of the word that he gets right to the very heart and core of it. He doesn't want to beat around the bush or sugarcoat it, but the shedding of precious blood. From the very outset, it said that without that shedding of pure blood, there cannot be any reconciliation, any forgiveness. And from Genesis on, it said that scarlet thread runs throughout all the 66 books. And so, and it especially runs in the suffering, death, and burial, and resurrection, and ascension, all that of Jesus. And our artwork and everything displays that blood flowing. I mean, looking right at the stained glass there of the Lamb, the blood's flowing out. So Luther always goes right to the central theme. And, then he jumps real quick on believe that with steadfastness and that the victory is already yours, in Jesus. So real solid stuff here in stanza 8.
I'm wondering about the way the pronouns shift back and forth here, especially at the beginning of the stanza. Is this referring to Jesus being God? Though he will shed my precious blood. But then it immediately says, me of my life bereaving. And then you have all this I suffer for your good.
I'm wondering if he ties in at all to the final line of verse 7. The foe shall not divide us. That would be one alternative, right? It's the devil that's shedding his blood, but I don't really think so. We could say that the blood that was shed on the cross, the devil and all that could have part in that. So maybe that's what he's referring to, or it could be, referring to God. I'm not sure. We do know from the Bible, especially Hebrews, that Jesus is amazing in that he is not only the sacrifice for sins, but he's the one who offers the sacrifice. But here he's really talking about shedding that blood, and that's a good question.
He will shed my precious blood.
Who's he, we're asking.
But it's a lowercase.
Yeah,
H.
and the my is capitalized. That makes me think he's maybe tying into the foe. That the devil wanted to kill him.
The devil is the cause for the shedding.
Yeah, that God let that happen.
That makes sense.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to get some experts on Luther hymns to ask them what they think.
Well, and if we did go through this hymn in its entirety, this one along with several other of Luther's hymns, they are very sequential, and it's like the one idea picks up right from where the other. Yeah.
So if some of you better than us Luther hymn experts out there are listening, please write or call in and let us know. But I think you're onto something there, Cantor, that the he is definitely not capitalized, and the my's are throughout this.
Me and mine.
Yeah, but when you get down, for instance, to the second to the last line, your isn't capitalized. Neither is it you in the last one. So I'm not sure.
Well, I think that's probably referring to
us. Okay.
That's what I think.
Yeah, there you go. So we wouldn't be capitalized.
For our good.
Okay.
And for our sin, it shall bear our sin.
Okay. All right. So this one is a solid one to sing at Easter or any time, because as we started out, it's all about justification. And this 10-verse one just lays it out so magnificently, as you were talking, interlinked and very rich in distinguishing law and gospel, and with great poetry. Are you going to make us sing all 10 stanzas this Sunday?
I don't know yet.
You don't know yet?
There's a good chance we will.
Okay, okay. Well, we look forward to whatever the number that you have us sing. We'll rejoice with Luther and all the other Christians in the Lord Jesus Christ and his justification. So thanks for joining us today, and join us next week and the following weeks if you can. Hymn of the Day here at Our Savior Lutheran in Heartland, Michigan. The Lord be with you.